What's up, fam? How is everyone doing? Doing great, I hope. It is the weekend. Friday. It's crazy. This week's come by crazy fast. Honestly, faster than most of the weeks, but can't complain, right? Weekend comes, weekend goes, but you know what we're always doing? We're always working. I love it. All right. Gotta crack open this bad boy. Cheers. This is, well, no, I think I have one more of these. I got like the guava like passion fruit flavor one, which is like I said, I'm trying to be like drink consume more like natural stuff. So the one this doesn't have like any artificial flavoring. This is like the literally the LaCroix tasting sparkling water. I'm starting to get used to just like the hint of a flavor, which is basically just carbonated soda or carbonated water, and it's definitely growing on me. It's definitely an acquired taste. For those of you who've been to Japan, it's like mugi cha. I think like honestly, Mugi Chai I think probably tastes worse starting off, but it's an acquired taste. You just kind of have to get used to there not being much flavor. But there's no aspartame, no like additive stuff in it. It's literally just natural flavoring and carbonated water. So, but it's a little bit different than just water itself because I tend to just mainly drink water most of the time unless I'm having like a protein shake or something like that. Then I'm not really drinking much of anything else besides water. All right, but as you can see, you got the buff Asian shirt. I gotta show you all this. This is sick. Right here. This is the samurai one. I have one more sample. I'm gonna unveil that tomorrow. I'll be wearing that and taking a couple pictures. As you saw on my Buff Asian page, I posted this one. So you got this one, and you got the other one. Sneak peek. You probably already seen the maybe seen the concepts for them, but it's going to be called Rising Sun. So keep that in mind. But I'm excited to get this stuff going, and yeah, hopefully we can get the site up in the next month or so. But exciting stuff. And if you have any concepts that you want to possibly see or whatever, I usually just kind of AI generate most of these. But let me know. Might feature some of you guys' concepts if you're looking to do something like that. All right. So let's go ahead and hop into the topic at hand tonight. Now, I've actually I've watched this podcast before, but it's a podcast run by two professors at BYU. I can't remember what they teach. I can't even remember what their names. It's like Tom and something else, like Bob or something, Mike. Who knows, you know? But really cool guys, and they started off this podcast, which is it's called well originally is was called I think it might be called the same thing now. I can't remember, but it's called it's just dinner podcast. I'm pretty sure it's still called that. It might be dating made simple or simple dating or they might have added something onto it or changed it. I can't remember, but it's just dinner podcast. So they just made this whole thing because that's kind of their slogan. So and to encourage people my age and the youth of not only just the church but BYU to date more, because obviously we can see the trends. People are marrying less, people are dating less. Dating, just the game has changed so much, and it's starting to be kind of a social problem that we're seeing, especially in the generations that are younger than us. And honestly, I think it's going to just keep going on in a downward trajectory. The top of the top guys are going to get pretty much all the girls they want, all out of all the attractive girls. Then there's going to be like this 50 to 60% of guys that are going to get zero girls. That's kind of what we're seeing in the data nowadays, at least when it comes to dating apps. But they started this podcast, and I think it's really good. I think it's really awesome. I actually was talking with them, potentially doing a collab going on their show. I reached out to them. We were talking a little bit, but they never got back to me. So I don't know. Maybe when I'm a little bit bigger, they'll have me on. But really good podcast. I thought they stopped doing it for a while, but they actually continued doing it, and they started posting more on YouTube because I like watching the videos and seeing the people actually talk and stuff. I mean, I can listen to a podcast, but I'd prefer to watch or even just listen. And so they have it on Spotify as well. But it's really interesting, and they were talking specifically this one of the older episodes. They were talking about like dating as an RM, and they had like three girls in the room, and they're kind of telling their, I don't want to say nightmare stories, but they're interesting experiences dating like RMs. And one girl I think was like a freshman or like 18 or 19, and she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna stay away from those RMs," type of thing, because the main thing like RM, it's like you get back from your mission and they tell you, or you kind of have this kind of the purpose of, all right, I've done serving the Lord. My next purpose is to get a wife or to get married, specifically for the elders. And I think it's really funny. I mean, to be fair, that's kind of what I thought as well. And I wish I'm going to go over lots of different tips, advice, honestly, for dating as a newly returned missionary, just because odds are most, and this is specifically for like the returning elders, so the guys out there, the men, or hopefully became a man on your mission. If not, you're on your journey to become a man. This is mainly for the guys, just because I'm a guy. I'm not a girl. I was never a sister. And so I don't want to dive into that. So my advice is for the guys, just because that's my experience, my dating experience, and kind of what I've learned over the several years of dating in Provo specifically. And this just isn't Provo specific. This is also just general information as well. So keep that in mind. Specifically for the guys, if I knew this stuff when I was dating, like it would have made my life so much easier, so much less embarrassment, heartbreak, all of the above, wasting time. So this is gold. So if you're RM, watch this. If you know someone who's an RM, send this to them. And trust me, it's going to be very good advice. And some of the advice you may not agree with me, and that's fine. But just as something to keep in mind, to have a knowledge of, just because I didn't have a knowledge of a lot of this stuff, whether or not I probably wouldn't have agreed with most of it, but obviously experience is 2020, right? 2020 hindsight, or hindsight's always 2020, right? I think that's the saying. So keep that in mind. This is coming from someone who's experienced it. Obviously, there's other advice out there. Seek out other advice. Seek out, obviously, the prophets and the brethren. They tell us stuff to do this stuff. But this is my own experience. Not speaking for them, not speaking for the church, but this is my personal experience and what I wish I would have known when I was a newly returned missionary. So send this to them if you know someone that's a recently returned missionary. All right, let's go ahead and hop into it. Honestly, usually I take like an hour or so before I actually go live to kind of prepare in the fact that like at least my notes, what I want to talk about, my points, and literally for 15 minutes, 20 minutes straight, I was just typing. So I actually have a decent amount of content here, and I thought of much more content, but in the case of kind of fitting it into not a 2 hour show, I'm going to condense this, and kind of these are the main points. There might be some points I may have missed or I'm not including that also are important that I may add later on or do another live for that. Or if someone has specific questions, then I can dive deeper into that for you. So And this is not in necessarily any particular order per se, so keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and start off. All right. And let's provide the context. So, for those of you who have not served missions, or you don't know what a mission is, or for those of you who are not members of the church, which watch my videos, which could be a large majority of people, but for as you know, or if you don't know, now you do know, I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, so the LDS Church. Many people know it as the Mormon Church, but we would like people to refer to us as Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints because it is Christ Church. It is not the Church of Mormon. It's not the Church of Joseph Smith. It is Jesus Christ Church. All right. Now that I prefaced that, what we do, and you're probably very familiar, there's these, you probably see these guys and these girls wearing these black name badges walking around. Typically, the guys are in white shirts and ties, talking to you about the Book of Mormon or the gospel and Jesus Christ, a message about Jesus Christ. And those are missionaries. So for the elders, they go out for 2 years. They can stay somewhere domestically inside the country of the US, or they can go abroad. I served my mission in Tokyo, Japan. So I went foreign for my mission and I learned the Japanese language and I taught people in Japanese. And people go, these elders and sisters go all the way around the world. Guys go out for 2 years. The girls go out for 18 months, so a year and a half. And they go out serving God, teaching the gospel, helping others come into Christ. And then they come back. And then this is from ages that for the guys anywhere from age 18 to I believe age like 25 or 26. I can't remember the exact cutoff date. For sisters, for the girls, it's age 19 to I don't even think they have an age limit. So as long as you're a single sister, you can go on a mission. As far as I know, I may not be entirely accurate on that. So don't quote me on that. But I know for the guys, it's like 18 to like 25 or 26. And typically, especially for guys, so I'm going to kind of focus in on the perspective of the guys now. Specifically for the guys, like this is kind of the time and age where you're kind of went through puberty, your testosterone's like really spiking up, and you're wanting to do fun stuff. You're wanting to hang out with chicks, hang out with girls, date them, and have fun with them, and just have a good time. This is typically the time when you graduate high school, you go to college, you have your fun in college, and you experience life, especially as adults away from your family. And instead of necessarily having that college experience first, I personally decided to not go at age 18 right after high school. I decided to do a year of college, one to live on my own for a little bit, gain some more of those independent skills, which honestly served me very greatly. For other people, they just decide to go straight from high school. It ends up being your decision. But I did a year of college and then I went on my mission. Many people tend to go straight from high school onto their mission. So most of the time, most guys in general, I'd say nowadays, don't really have much dating experience in high school, especially like members of our church, my church. They kind of recommend us not to start dating until 16. And all right, 16, 18, you go on your missions, only like a couple years. And even then, you're just kind of like learning the ropes of dating. You don't date too much. You don't date super seriously. You might have a girlfriend in high school, you may not. But for the mass majority of guys, I would probably say your dating experience is very limited, if not non-existent, during high school and before your mission. And then you just kind of go out, and then during this time, you kind of, all right, I can't talk to girls, I can't hang out with girls, I can't like, what's the word? I can't chase after them, I can't approach girls, can't date them, etc. So that is a very long stretch for someone in from 18, 19, 20, 21, those ages. Your testosterone's pumping, like you're wanting, you know exactly what I mean. So you just have this natural attraction to chicks, and you can't really do anything about it just because if you're calling you're a missionary. So when then you come back, you're like, all right, I can hang out with girls, I can date girls, and I can do that stuff once I'm done with my mission. So you come back, but so you still have all these hormones and stuff that you're very attracted to all these good looking girls, but you don't really have necessarily the social skills. You built social skills on your mission, teaching about the gospel, but for I recognize for most elders, and especially for myself, I actually was very much an introvert before my mission. After my mission, I'd say I'd mastered the skill of talking to people and to getting over the awkwardness. But even I would say I could talk to anyone. It was very much a culture in Japan where you don't talk to strangers at all. So overcoming that barrier itself is very difficult. But I got to the point where I had zero problem doing it. The trains, especially trains, no one talked to was completely silent. You could literally hear someone drop a penny from probably the end of the car, maybe even the next car over. So it was like dead silent, and I was totally fine just like talking, and everyone could hear my conversation. So in a crowded, even in a crowded train, if I talked to someone, everyone could hear my conversation, and that didn't really bother me too much. Maybe a little bit, but you get used to it, you know. So I thrive. I would always say I thrived in awkward situations, which honestly I kind of still do. I pride myself in that. So you may have mastered some skills of teaching people, talking to random people, mastering another second language, but like your interactions with the opposite sex, because you weren't allowed to do that for those 2 years, you come back into a college environment where it's very social, very much people hanging out with the opposite gender, and you're like, I'm thrown in this dating world, and especially you're kind of invited and you're, I wouldn't say push to date, but it's like they're recommending you to date and have fun and get to know a lot of girls, go on dates and stuff, and eventually, the goal is to get married. But that is very difficult because you're very awkward and you don't know how to reconcile your feelings of attractiveness with like your because you just haven't had the experience talking with girls, and honestly, most guys haven't at that age. You kind of learn that throughout college. So that's kind of setting the foundation of the context. That's exactly where I was. Came back, wanted to date girls, wanted to get a girlfriend, all that stuff. And for a lot of guys, it's just like you never like kissed a girl or whatever. Like there's added complexities to your anxiety or your inability to converse normally with someone from the opposite sex, let alone like escalate things and attract them. So that's the case for most guys. And if you're an RM, you might be kind of the outlier. There are definitely outliers out there who are just like they're naturally good to girls, and you don't really have that problem in high school. You dated a lot, and you come back from your mission, you're just like right back into the swing of things. You might have a little bit of rust. Everyone does, but you might pick it up relatively quickly. But there's a lot of guys that just have zero experience with women before their mission. Yeah, that's the unfortunate truth. So starting off, first, actually, I will switch these. I actually initially had this first, but get a group of guy friends. Get some boys together. That's why I did my freshman year. It was great. And then when I came back from our mission, I had a lot of friends from the mission. I'd recommend starting there. If you're just starting to go to college, you're starting to work, you don't have too many friends, connect with some people from your mission or get to know people in your YSA ward, etc. But get a group of guys, kind of like it doesn't have to be a huge group. It can be anywhere. I'd say start off with like two guys, and then you can eventually build that up to maybe like five or six, or even maybe a little bit bigger, depending on your preference. I typically like to keep it a little bit on the smaller side, but you need to get a group of guy friends together. Get the boys, you know? Multiple reasons for this. One, you learn from other people's successes and other people's mistakes, and you're all on this journey together. You're typically around the same age, probably just came back from missions as well. And you typically kind of want to look for people in kind of the same situation, the same time in life that you are in. It's kind of natural for that. So you're going to kind of on this dating journey together, like what works with girls, what doesn't work for girls. Like, hey, my friend tried this. It worked out great for him. I'll try that. Oh, my friend tried to make a move on this girl, like after he thought she gave him some choosing signals or some signs that she wanted to, but actually not, and ended up really bad. Or hey, this guy was initially dating this one girl, but then he was interested in her roommate, started dating her roommate. Like things did not end up well. Yeah, probably not a good idea to do that. So there's multiple things you can learn, both on the positive side and the negative side, what to do, what not to do from your group of guy friends. That's just one important aspect of that. There are many more important aspects of it. I'd say, additionally, it's just good for guys to hang out with each other. and do like the guy stuff, do masculine stuff. So there's a saying I always make. I joke around with the boys, but it's honestly true. It's like when guys get together, we're always doing something. When girls get together, they might be doing something, but they're just talking. They get together to talk. Guys get together to do stuff, and we happen to maybe talk along the way. Girls get together to talk initially, and then they might be doing some stuff. They might be getting brunch or whatever, but that's just kind of, in my experience, usually what happens. It's why girls always go to brunch or whatever, and they talk and they gossip and stuff. And guys get together. We're watching a game. We're cooking some food. We're going out, driving cars. We're driving motorcycles. We're going to the big game. We're playing basketball. We're doing stuff. We're just not getting together. It's like, let's get together to chat. Let's catch up. You might do that every once in a while with some of your guys, the boys that you haven't seen in a while, but most of the time you're getting together on a regular basis to do stuff. And that's important to do stuff. It increases your masculinity. It helps with testosterone. And trust me, the higher your testosterone is, the better your life in general is going to be. You're going to feel a lot better. You're going to, those hormones are going to kick in, and it's going to drive you to be successful and to improve yourself. And also in return, this makes you interesting in the fact that you're doing stuff with the boys. You might be going on trips, you might be going to concerts, hitting the gym together. So these are things that eventually become your hobbies, that way all of your time isn't just enveloped in chasing girls, chasing women. I mean, we all kind of fall into that pitfall one time or another, where it's just like all we want to think about is girls, just because it's kind of in our biological nature to do that. But this allows you to not always be available, add some mystery, add some captivation into your life when you go out with a girl that you really are interested in, and she talks about like, what do you like to do? It's like, hey, or hey, what are you doing this weekend? It's like, hey, I would love to go out with you, but let's do this next weekend. I'm going to do this stuff with the boys or whatever. It's just better all over. She's going to be just more attracted to you just because you're doing stuff and you're not just giving her all your attention. In hindsight, yes. And if you want to learn more about like attention and what that means to a girl and stuff, watch some of my previous lives on kind of like female nature. And this is actually going to feed into my next point is, once you kind of have your group of guys, that's number one, because it'll help you keep framing relationships and be interesting and captivating, and it will keep your masculinity high, is to actually go get some friends that are girls, that are women. The caveat is, get some girls as friends, hang out with them, do not date them. And here's my reasoning why. Getting some friends as girls, obviously, it will help you get used to talking with women, treating them like normal people, and getting used to them, learning how they work, just because guys and girls are very different. Communication style wise, intention wise, it's guys are really straightforward and pretty easy to read. Women, on the other hand, are like completely the opposite. We're like different creatures. So, in order to kind of understand how they work, it is good to have some women that are your friends that you can hang out with. You're not They're not necessarily your go-to friend group per se that you're doing everything with. I did that. It was both beneficial and then kind of detrimental to me at the same time, because I actually became interested in one of the girls in that group, and did not end up well. It didn't. I mean, it wasn't like terrible, but yeah, essentially, I got friend zoned. So that will probably happen with you as well. That's why I say don't date them, and don't exclusively do stuff with them, because you'll probably eventually catch feelings, especially if the girl is attractive. So yeah, this will, getting a group of girls to hang out with. You'll get used to talking with women in a natural way and treating them normal, like normal people, instead of like pedestalizing them and becoming all nervous and getting sweaty hands and fumbling over your words just because it's like, oh, there's a pretty woman in front of me. I don't know how to act. This will help you with that. And also, you can learn from certain things that they do. You can see how they interact with guys, and they might tell you like dating experiences and see how sometimes what they say, or many times what they say, is not what they actually do or how they act. So you got to kind of follow their actions instead of following what they say, because they might say, hey, I like this kind of guy, I like a nice guy, I like a guy to be like this, when in reality they're actually dating the 6'5" Chad who's on the hockey team, who might be a little bit of a douche. It's just reality. So it's important to see that way you can learn from the mistakes that those guys are making with your friend that happens to be a girl, and you don't put yourself in that position. That is what I've learned, and I kind of wish I did this a little bit more. I did do it during my freshman year, but I do know lots of other guys out there that have good social circle of girls, and they've learned so much just interacting with them and really learning female nature, because it's definitely a science for sure. All right, the reason why you don't want to date them, sorry, also why you want to get some girlfriends, friends that are girls. This will prevent you from embarrassing yourself with girls that you are interested in. So, like I said, you'll get to see how they actually act and behave, and see the difference between what they say and what they act, or maybe it goes along with what they say. But it will help you prevent it will prevent you from making mistakes that other guys make with these girls that are your friends. So you'll see that, because girls love talking about the relationships and the relationship problems to you if you're a friend. All right. It is especially important that you do not date them, because you'll catch feelings and they will put you in the friend zone. It's important that you come off and say, hey, or just put them in the friend zone first. That's honestly the key. Put them in the friend zone first, so you do not eventually become attracted to them and you get friend zoned yourself. Because that is the worst feeling. Because then it's really awkward, and it's like, oh, I don't know if I can hang out with you guys anymore. And she won't see you the same way either. She's like, oh, hang out with this guy, but he kind of likes me like more than a friend type of thing. I just see him as a brother. You'll get that. Trust me, I got that. That's kind of where I messed up, and yeah, it was definitely a good learning experience, but learn from my mistakes, fellas. So these group of girls, friend zone them before you get friend zoned, because if you do not friend zone them and you get attracted to one of them, most likely you will probably get friend zoned. Okay, that's that. All right. So that's kind of the reasoning behind that. Highly recommend getting some girls as your friends, but do not date them unless one is very attractive and actually interested, gives you initial interest. Then honestly, go ahead, go for it. But here's the thing: it's like at the end of the day, women can be friends with guys and not be attracted to them romantically, but it's very hard for guys to be friends with girls and not be attracted to them romantically unless you friend zone them first. It's just what it is. All right. Next point. Now, this might be a little bit controversial, but I have reasoning behind it, and obviously there are exceptions to the rule that work out perfectly, and they have the best relationship ever. But for majority of people, I'd say this is very much a honestly, it's not even a tough ask, to be honest. All right. So that point is, do not marry the first person you date after your mission, especially if you haven't done much dating before the mission, or any dating at all. Because I know many people that they marry the first person after they get home from their mission. And don't get me wrong, like I said, there are people that have great relationships, great marriages, and everything's happily ever after. But a lot more times than not, things end up don't working out. I'm not saying if you do this, then you're going to get divorced, or I hope you get divorced. No, not at all. I hope you have a great relationship, but I have seen a lot of friends that it doesn't work out, and it just I think kind of my theory of kind of what happens is you get really drawn into this person, and especially if they haven't dated much before, it's like this they get the honeymoon. They get in the honeymoon phase and they're just like, oh, I love this person, I love this person. And they don't have any experience with anyone else. So they don't know what they like, they don't know what they don't like. And they end up getting married relatively quickly. And then they kind of are together as a married couple. And one thing leads to another. And they're just like, oh, I didn't know this about you, or I didn't know that about you. There's multiple factors to it, length of time of dating and stuff like that. But honestly, it's just not. I don't think it's a really good idea to marry the first person you date. Obviously, like I said, there's exceptions to the rule, but the reasoning behind why I say this, and this is a rule for myself, is just like I honestly hadn't dated much, so I wanted to see what's out there because there are lots of many different options. There's no such thing as soulmate, and you kind of get to see what you like, what you don't like, and people behave differently. They come from different backgrounds, so why not get a little bit of variety and kind of see what you like, what you don't like, kind of like narrow down your list of like, all right, I work really well with this person, or I really like this thing about this girl and that thing about that girl. And eventually you kind of let the cream rise to the top. And this leads to my next point is go on lots of dates with lots of girls. Now this is a general statement that I think is very preached at Provo, and I think it's a good thing. Maybe a little bit too much where it's a little bit of a detriment. You may get get into like the ideology of like, oh, there's always going to be a better option out there. I know I definitely have had that. But like I said, at the end of the day, especially if you don't have much experience with dating, just like you get to see what you like, what you don't like, let kind of like the cream rise to the top. You get to get best choice, especially if you're dating lots of girls. And this is exactly what the girls do. Like obviously the girls typically don't ask the guys on the dates. The guys do the asking. Typically this is the guys like cycle of dating. They're really interested in one girl, find her really attractive, really cool, really fun, and they pursue only that girl, spend all of their energy and time trying to get that girl. They may go on a date or two, maybe even start dating, and then eventually like it ends up not working out. They get friend zoned, or she breaks up with them because she gets another guy or whatever, and you get heartbroken, and you're kind of like in this sulking phase for anywhere from a couple weeks to a couple months. I've seen even some guys it's like years, which is not good, especially if it's a longer term relationship, and and they just get in the cycle again. Then they eventually find another girl that they're really attracted to, and they're like, oh, this is the one, and they just follow this unfortunate cycle. And trust me, I've been there. I've done it myself, and it sucks. So the the solution to that is to date lots of girls at the same time. That way, if one falls off or one doesn't, it's not the right fit or whatever, it doesn't work out, then you're not heartbroken, you're not sulking, and you just kind of have another option. And I think that's a good mentality, especially dating in today's dating market and dating sphere, just because there's a lot of that. And just date one girl at a time, it's not the odds are not in your favor. I will say, because eventually you do want to get married, right? All right, so that's and also along with those lines, dating lots of girls, different girls, going on lots of dates will help you avoid this one-itis. So that's kind of the term that we use for like you think that one person is your soulmate and you just like can't get over that person. Trust me, we've all been there. And the cure for one-itis is just to get date other women. Honestly, it's abundance, right? So just imagine if there's like this girl who's like great and she's like, let's just say like an 8 out of 10 or whatever. She's like really great, but then she's like, hey, I'm not really interested in you. There's this other guy I'm like more interested in, or it's like, hey, I see you as a friend type of a thing. If she's the only girl you're seeing, who wouldn't be heartbroken, you know? Like she's the only girl you have. But if you were to have you're dating like a 9 and she has also the expressed interest into you, or maybe you have a girl that's a 7 or an 8 and you have like 4 of these girls that you've been going on dates with, then to be honest, it's just like hey, like you kind of don't want to, you don't see yourself in a relationship with me or whatever, and she just kind of like calls it off, and you're like, I mean, I understand, but you're lost. Like, have a good day. Wish you the best of luck, and then you just go to dating the other girls. If you had the options, then you wouldn't be upset and you wouldn't be heartbroken. You wouldn't get into this one itis cycle, because if you have this one itis and you're like, oh, I got to get her back type of a thing, and it's just not great mentality in today's dating market. All right, let me take a pause, take a drink. All right, if anyone has any questions or that they want to ask, just shoot it to me in the comments, or in this, yeah, in the comments section, or yeah. All right, what's the next one? All right, we're like halfway through. Dang, this is taking a long. uh, Might have to do part two. We're like halfway through. All right, another one is, when you're dating these girls, never initiate the DTR or the where do we stand talk. Excuse me, the carbonation, man. I did not follow this rule, nor did I honestly really know this rule existed, or like this happened. Like, I was very naive. So in every one of my relationships, I was the one, because that's kind of my attachment style. I get attached really quickly to people. That's what I found out. So if I see a girl that I like, I will be like, there are many times where like it was like after the first or second date, which is kind of, it's kind of crazy to think. It's like after one date, it's like you don't know if that's like the right person to, one, let alone date long term, let alone to like marry. But like I would think about these things like, oh, I could see ourselves getting married, and if we got married, like it would happen like this or like that. Like, so I get attached super easily, super quickly, when I see someone I like, and that is never great for the relationship, because like I said, in every one of my relationships, I was the one that like initiated that talk, like where do we stand type of a talk. Like I'm looking for a long-term relationship. This is nothing wrong with like setting expectations, but you never want to be the one that brings to the table, brings you to the discussion, hey, I'm looking for an exclusive relationship with you. Just because, honestly, I hate to say this, but it's true. It's like the leverage. You want to have a little bit of leverage in your relationship, just because eventually at the end of the day, this is how I like to phrase it, you want your wife to be your first round, first draft pick. And then you also want your wife to have you as your first round, first draft pick. And odds are, like, you're dating them and you're going on dates, you probably like them, and you are interested in pursuing a long-term relationship, most likely. So if she initiates that conversation, saying she wants to be exclusive with you, or she wants to talk about being exclusive with you, she's making her pick for the draft, and you're the pick. So you know that way you can select her as well, or if not, then you can keep dating other girls and you can kind of move away from that relationship. But it gives you the leverage and allows you the ability to choose your your person. And I think that means the world, and that's everything. Just because, let's be honest, like, women, they have the right at any point to just kind of leave and kind of end the relationship, because let's be honest, women are very emotional. So you never know what they're going to feel or think or choose that day, just because they're women. It's hard to understand. And the guys are very different. So it's like, kind of, usually when we make a decision, it's just kind of like, all right, yeah, that makes sense. Like, I choose you type of thing, if I really want to. It's not like because I'm feeling emotional or whatever. So it is clear, if she initiates the conversation, you want her to initiate the conversation. There's no question in your mind that you have to think like, oh, did she kind of just say yes because she felt pressured, or she kind of like thought it out, because girls do this all the time. They think about all these different variables and these different factors. It's like, all right, if I make him like my boyfriend or whatever, then this is like a solid decision I'm going to make. And then you got to choose if you want to say yes or no. So this is just helping you because I've had many times where I've initiated the conversation, didn't work out or whatever, or they've temporarily, you thought they said yes, or they did say yes. And then like a couple weeks to months down the road, just like, yeah, they break it off or whatever. And they're like, actually, like, yeah, I wasn't feeling it in the moment. I was feeling it, but now not really. So save you a lot of heartache. Trust me, like you want her to initiate the conversation. And even if you're like you're really wanting to make her your girlfriend or whatever, like just wait. Trust me. Just wait. And she brings up that conversation, you're like, I'm glad you brought that up. I was actually thinking about that too. And if you want to be exclusive with me, then like I dig your vibe and I want to be exclusive with you. Boom. That is the best way. That's the best way to start a relationship. Just because she wants you and then you want her as well. And the most important thing is she wants you. And all be honest. That's the most important thing. And she chooses you. All right. Next point. I think we have a couple more points. I'll try to maybe get through these a little bit quicker because I have like stories and anecdotal evidence for a lot of this stuff. And it's really interesting, but I can kind of go into deeper detail in maybe a later live or maybe I do an AMA or something. So prioritize finding your purpose. So think about it. You're a missionary, you're a recently returned elder, and your purpose on your mission was obviously help others, bring others come closer to Christ through teaching them the restored gospel and teaching them the gospel of Jesus Christ, faith, repentance, baptism, receiving the gift of the Holy Ghost. Turn to that. How was your purpose for 2 years? You had a strict purpose and it's just like ingrained in your mind. Like you don't have to wake up every single day and wonder like, oh, what are we going to do today? Or like, what do I need to do today? You might have to do like, oh, where are we going to go? Or like, who are we going to teach? Who are we going to focus on? But for the main part, you kind of know what you need to do. Whereas after your mission, it's kind of like you're done being a missionary. And it's like, all right, what is my purpose? So prioritize on finding your purpose. And I know you're in college, you're most likely in college, or you're starting to work and you're 20 years old, 21 years old, you have no idea what you want to do. Trust me, I was there. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to be a geologist. That was not the case. I found out 2 years after going through all my geology classes. Everyone's talking about masters, going to do their masters and writing a thesis and stuff like that. I'm like, at that point, I was like, everyone was talking about like, oh, I want to write my thesis on that or this or that. And I was like, I don't even want to write a thesis. Like, there's nothing that like intrigues me that much. And that's when I really realized I'm like, I'm in it for the money, not for like me actually enjoying doing this. So I switched to business, total switch. Like I love business. I love finance. I love the markets and how to make money, how money works. Like 100%, 10 out of 10 times if I had to do it again, I would do exactly what I did. Maybe change like a couple things here or there, but to choose like the career path and to the field of study of finance, like wouldn't have changed anything. So prioritize on finding your purpose. Because a lot of people, they have this misconception that my purpose after my mission is to find a wife for an elder. And the thing is, you can make that part of your purpose. Do not make it your sole purpose because, I mean, I kind of thought that was the case. And then I was like, oh, like, I'm going to get married by like 23 or 24. I think that's a good age and everything's going to be great. And honestly, it didn't really work out for me. It's like it kind of worked out, then like obviously that'd be awesome. I'd love to be married right now, but it didn't work out like that. And if that's your sole purpose, like especially nowadays, kind of how dating is, a lot of guys are going to be disappointed. I'm sorry. That's just how it is. So that doesn't mean you don't prioritize and you don't make conscious effort to like, hey, I'm going to date and eventually get married type of thing. I want to get married. That's like 100%. I'm with you, but do not make that your sole purpose of your sole purpose is to find a wife. One, that can kind of scare off a lot of girls. Two, you might leave disappointed. So prioritize finding your purpose. Like I said, I didn't really know. I kind of came into my purpose when I was like 23, 24, like kind of the tail end, like my last year or two in college, which is like to study finance, learn about business, how money works, make money work for myself, and then help guys get stronger, smarter, healthier, wealthier, you know? So eventually find your purpose and take the time. It's going to require you to try a lot of stuff. And honestly, in return, it's going to make you really interesting. You're going to have a plethora of different experiences. I tried a lot of stuff and I can tell stories about that. I can show that if I'm on a date with a girl, it's like, hey, these are all kind of like things I tried. And this is kind of my path and my journey in life up to this point. And it's really interesting. Makes you seem really captivating, and that you have stuff going on in your life that's like aside from chasing women. Because trust me, if you're on a date with a girl, she does not want to hear about you going on dates with other girls or going to parties or stuff like that, hanging out with other girls. It's just like, no, girls don't want to hear that. So don't talk about it. Like I said, it may take some time. It'll greatly help avoid the brutality of failing in the dating world, but then it will also increase your attractiveness with women because you're doing stuff and you're trying new stuff. And then when you eventually find it, it's very attractive for a man to a woman that he's on his purpose. He knows kind of what he wants in life and he has a plan to achieve that. So it's very attractive for. All right. Third to last, stay away from long distance relationships as much as possible. This is just kind of one I threw out there. I've done long distance relationships and you just don't get the interaction, the human interaction as much. And this is also saying I've some friends that like literally their whole relationship before they were married was long distance, and like their most time extended in person was when they're actually married. They ended up working, like everything's great, but I'd say for a large majority of people, it's just like not an ideal situation just because you can't really connect with someone. It's really hard to connect with someone and get close to them and intimate and all that kind of stuff over thousands, hundreds or thousands of miles. It's just hard. So, and that kind of limits your, and that honestly increases your chances. And I'm not saying you're going to cheat or whatever, but if you're in an exclusive relationship and you're long distance, it increases the chances of either you or your girlfriend to explore different options during the relationship. Let's just be honest. So, as much as possible, I know there are certain circumstances where you meet a girl or whatever, and you're away from the summer, or you're doing an internship, or you're doing sales, and she's doing something else. She's going back home. That I think that's fine. But like an extended, like she goes to school, like in California, and you're in Utah, or you're in Texas, or whatever. It's like, especially during college, it's tough. Like I would not recommend it. But there might be certain cases, and if you're dating, if you met someone and you were dating for 2 years and they graduated and they started their full-time job and you still had a year left, like sure, that I'd say that's a different circumstance. But if you just like meet someone on a trip or whatever and you start like dating and then you're long distance, I would not recommend that. So stay away from those types of relationships. All right. This is really important. And honestly, you learn about this on your mission more so just because you use technology, but you need to build your digital footprint. Dating has changed. Like with social media and online presence and Instagram and Twitter, X, Facebook, like Hinge, Mutual, Tinder, like all of these online like smartphone stuff, the dating game has changed and it's never going back. Much of it, if not most of it, is done online. It's more honestly done online than in person. Think of the dating apps. So you want to make sure you have a good looking social media that reflects your purpose, or in many of y'all's cases, your search of your purpose. You doing fun stuff, trying out new stuff, and it just like paints you in a good light. Just because the number one thing a girl does when you first meet her, or maybe you exchange numbers or whatever, and I wouldn't even do the whole number thing. I'm a big proponent of exchanging social medias, just exchanging Instagrams, because think about it. Back in my day, social media wasn't as big. So get their number, you text them like a day after or whatever. And a lot of times they'd be like, wait, who's this? Just because they're just like digits on their screen. Like they don't know, they might not remember, or because they literally, there's numbers on the screen and maybe you say your name and they might jog their memory to the point that you met. But for the most part, a lot of girls just won't remember, especially if they're attractive and they got approached by many guys that day. So when you do social media instead, when you do an Instagram, if you have a very well curated Instagram, good looking, shows that you're on your journey to find your purpose, or you found your purpose and you're attempting to make a dent in the universe and be interesting and captivating, do fun stuff, and shows that you're competent. Then when you exchange the social media, the Instagram, and you DM her later, she immediately, it's linked to your account, so she can go to your account, see who you are, and see what you're about, and jog her memory way faster and be like, oh, it's that guy. And then she also sees your Instagram once you follow her, and she follows you back, and she basically takes a dive into a sneak peek of your life. And if it seems really interesting, really cool, she's that much more likely to go on a date with you. Oh, trust me. Like, if you have a good looking social media and it's interesting and captivating, and a girl is like 100 times more likely to go on a date with you than if you just exchange a phone number and you just text her or call her or whatever. That's just how kind of the world works now in dating. So I would recommend you coming back from your mission, maybe your parents or whatever, some good pictures of you and maybe some cool places, or you go on vacation, have some people like, it can be super tacky and it can seem super like cringe to like have someone take a picture of you for your Instagram, but like it's going to help you way more just because it just shows professionalism. And the older you get, the more professional and the more legit you want to seem. So, I mean, even honestly, I've done this in the past as well. Just like get a friend to take a camera out, take some good pictures, take a couple outfits, or even with an iPhone. I do most of my pictures with an iPhone portrait mode. Like bang, like that thing looks good. So, highly recommend that. You don't have to have a ton of pictures. I'd probably keep the post relatively low. That adds a little bit of mystery. But I mean, as long as you have some good pictures and a lot of your pictures aren't from when you're like 12, get rid of those pictures, because you want to get rid of pictures that kind of make you seem kind of weird or whatever, and make you seem attractive. You want it to help you, not to hurt you at the end of the day. All right, last thing before I end. Been going at this for a long time. Like I said, I prepared a lot. Probably had double the amount of content than what I'm actually talking about right now. It's because it's a very interesting concept, and I've learned so much over the past. How long ago have I? I got like no, not 8 years. It was like 8 years since I graduated high school. 9 years actually, almost. Dang, that's crazy. But since my mission came back, what, 2018? Dang, it's been a long time. It's been like no, 6 years. That's crazy. That's crazy. 6 years since I got back from my mission. So my 6 years, lots of experience. Do not wait too long to make a move if you're interested in someone. Because at the end of the day, especially in Provo, if you're in Provo or Idaho or like wherever you're at, like, especially in those places, whether you're surrounded by a lot of members, you'll either get friend zoned if you just kind of like try to just be friends with them, and or she'll get into another serious relationship from a guy that actually did make a move. So if you're interested in a girl, as long as it's not one of those girls in your friend group that I initially said to get, honestly, like, show your interest, make a move. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't, that's fine. Because you know what? You maybe get to know her. You might get friend zoned by her, but she has friends. And you know what those girls have? They have more friends. So the more you can kind of get into these different circles and you make a move, honestly, dating's a numbers game too. So more you make a move, the more you're able to get dates with these girls, the more chances you are to get a girlfriend, eventually get married. So that is my advice to returning missionaries. If I had this information, that would have been so golden. Like, I wish my dad would have taught me this, but obviously dating was way different back then. But this is golden. So anyone that you know that's a return missionary, if you're a return missionary, watch all of this. If a return missionary, send this to them, just because, trust me, it's going to help them so much with dating, just because dating is crazy right now. And your parents don't really understand dating and the differences that social media has made. I'd say the brethren, the 12 apostles, they definitely have a sense of it, but they never went through it. So they might not have the personal anecdotal experience. So I might even, no, I'm not going to say that. But this is stuff that's very nuanced, very complicated. If you're not really in the trenches, in the weeds, dealing with it on a daily basis, like someone like I am, then you're not going to get the best perspective and the best ways to navigate it. Just because even someone from a year ago, it's changed dramatically. It's literally like technology in the market. It changes every second of the day, every minute of the day. So you have to be up to date on everything. So send this to them. All right. I wish you all luck. As with everything, you know what it is. Trying to help you guys get stronger, smarter, healthier, wealthier. So go ahead, follow for more lives, follow for more tips. Stay pumped. Look out for sample number 2 tomorrow, most likely. And I'll tell you guys when I set up my site, you can start purchasing some stuff. I'm going to start off small, probably like 3 or 4 items to start off, but then eventually expand the portfolio. And I'm not sure if I'll keep everything up all the time. I might do stuff seasonality or with certain time frames, but look out for that. All right, catch y'all later. Stay pumped, always. All right, cue the outro.